Hello, welcome everybody to our live stream. I am Laura Webster, I'm the editor of The National. I'm joined by Hamish Morrison, who is one of our political reporters based at Westminster, and James Walker, who is another of our political reporters, who is currently at the Count in Glasgow at the Emirates Arena. So I can see quite a lot of people are coming online. I mean, lots to talk about in that exit poll. Quite the numbers there. So what do you guys make of it so far?
I would be surprised. I would be surprised if that was right for the SNP. I saw Nicola Sturgeon, interestingly saying that she thought it was broadly right, but as we were just discussing, it would mean, I think the STV are extrapolating that would mean the SNP losing 6 seats to the Conservatives, which seems on the outside side of probable.
Yeah, I was just having a quick look through the ITV predictions there, and I was quite taken by that. It's not really something that's come up in the polls in the run-up to this election, the idea that the Tories were going to make significant gains from the SNP. Some really interesting points from that exit poll were that it suggests that Aberdeen South is a toss-up now between Labour and the Conservatives, which, I mean, that would be a big surprise. I'm not saying it's impossible. If the SNP's vote share has fallen significantly, that is entirely plausible, as well as that Dumfries and Galloway was predicted to be either Conservatives or Labour, which I found also very surprising. So I think, there's a lot to caveat within it, but 10 seats, there's no getting around the fact that would be an absolute disaster for the SNP. I mean, were you guys surprised to see that number?
I mean, I was surprised, and I was actually stood next to Stuart Hosey and some of the SNP team here at the Glasgow Count as that exit poll was released, and I think there was certainly a bit of disbelief. I spoke to Stuart afterwards, and he used the same words. He said, "More if it were broadly correct, then we'd be looking at this." What he said the immediate aftermath was "Let's wait and see." So I think there was definitely a bit of disbelief. I mean, the polls certainly indicated that they were going to be losing seats, but even the most pessimistic of polls were, even if they were putting them at 10 seats, Reform were going to be below them. I mean, I think for me the big headline out of this in many ways is that this would make them the 5th biggest party in Westminster. Third to 5th in terms of visibility would not be a good result, but I think there is definitely a bit of disbelief and certainly some question marks as to whether that it's going to play out that way.
Yeah,
but if the stories now become that they're competing for 4th place with Reform, then that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, once you're into 4th place, you're not particularly relevant in the Westminster pecking order. So if they're pushed out, 5th place. Yeah, God, 5th place, because we're looking pretty cleanly at a return to the Lib Dems as the 3rd largest party. So competing for 5th place. For 4th place, actually.
One thing that Stuart said in the aftermath as well is he made the point that in 2005 that I think the SNP returned only 5 or 6 seats, and so he was kind of sort of saying that and obviously after that they had such success. So you're sort of saying that this is very much not the not the end, even if it were to sort of play out that way by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I mean, this would certainly be a huge shake-up, I think.
Certainly. So myself and Xander were just in the newsroom, and we were looking on that ITN tool that lets you search every seat and see what the predictions are. So I think our next step is we're going to go through all the Scottish seats and see what they're predicting, and we can put together an article that's got a little bit more detail on where these supposed 6 seats that the Tories are going to gain from the SNP are, and other interesting shake-ups. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I wish that we could give you more kind of solid news on what's happening, but literally as we came into this StreamYard chat, it seemed that there was more and more discussion about how reliable the Scottish part of this exit poll is. I mean, historically, exit polls very trustworthy. As you said, Nicola Sturgeon said herself that she thought it was broadly right. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I can see that Lucy has joined us just now. She's at the Edinburgh Count, so I'm going to add her to the chat so we can find out what the vibe is over there just now. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
What's the feeling like in Edinburgh right now?
Very tense for the SNP and very happy for Labour. I was around the candidate table when the results of the exit poll just came through, and everyone that was dressed in red was cheering and hugging each other. Everyone else, not so much. So yeah, it's going to be a very tense night, I think, here.
Have you heard anything at all about how the SNP think they've done in Edinburgh?
There's a lot of confusion, really. A couple of the SNP people that I've spoken to are kind of unsure of which ones they've lost. They obviously know they have lost some, but they're not sure exactly which ones in Edinburgh could go. The main thing is in terms of the comparison of the SNP and the Tories. You know, if the polls are true, which seats in Scotland have the Tories won, or have they not at all? That's the big talk here, really, for the SNP. I think that's where they're trying to direct the conversation.
Yeah, it's really interesting and quite incredible. I think it would be some result for Douglas Ross, who effectively resigned halfway through his own campaign, to magically double the number of seats that his party have. I mean, honestly,
maybe that was the secret.
If he's been able to do that, he wasn't even at most of his own party's campaigning events. It was Craig Hoy.
I mean, there have been some howlers in exit polls in the past. In 92, one was famously completely wrong. It predicted a hung parliament, and the Tories won in 92. So, and they kind of, I think, broadly use similar methodology of pinpointing parts of the country and estimate the swing from that. And they say that there's less of those pinpoints in Scotland that they use.
Yeah, I want to hear from John Curtis. I've not heard from John Curtis yet. I want to know what he's saying about the Scottish results and if he thinks they're trustworthy or not. Like, John normally has a pretty good sense of what's going on. However, I do think he might have been responsible for the calculations that put the exit poll together. So I don't know. He maybe won't want to say anything too negative about it. Hamish, are you hearing anything in London about the mood down there?
No, I mean, I think that it's just, I think it seems the English story's pretty much been told already, hasn't it? We're looking at a massive, I think that probably for us and for our readers, but also for kind of people that are interested in politics across the UK, the Scottish result is probably going to be the one of the more interesting ones beyond the sort of headline Tories that lose their seats. I mean, we're predicting, I think, some of the names that are going around are Grant Shapps potentially, Jeremy Hunt potentially as well. There's even a possibility Rishi Sunak might lose his seat, although I think that seems unlikely. But I think the big questions, particularly after this exit poll now, are about what the story is in Scotland and what this election means for the SNP going forward as well.
Certainly. Well, it's a long night. We're all in for the long haul. We'll all be around until, I don't know, probably as late as 6 a.m. I think poor Hamish may have to go to a Keir Starmer event at 6 in the morning after starting at 8 p.m. So have fun with that. But we're going to bring you back another live stream at about 2. We'll have obviously some results coming in by then. We'll be able to give you a little bit more information on this exit poll and how accurate it is in Scotland. Because right now we're basically doing a StreamYard saying, well, we don't know. So we may as well just let the counting people get doing their counting, and we'll be back in a few hours with the updates that we get. Thank you so much to all the journalists for joining me just now. And yeah, I'll let you guys go and do your work.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.